everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to Sin's Workshop. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about City of the Uncommon Thief by Lynn Bertrand. Unfortunately, I did not finish this book. And you know what? I consider myself a pretty well-read person. You know, I've read Tolkien. I've read classic works. I've read pretty much every single Dragonlance book possible. I've read a lot in my life, including a lot of books where there's multiple POEs. George R.R. Martin, you know, Game of Thrones books, I read those. I've read a lot in my 29 years. And I just could not get past this book. It unfortunately made it onto my did not finish pile at 27%. Now, when I first read it, I was utterly confused. I took a few days off to read something else because I do that on the weekends. I don't read ebooks, you know, just to give my eyes a little bit of a break. And a lot of the arcs that I get, they're all digital. So I usually just get digital arcs, you know, no problem. So during the week, I read those. But on the weekends, I took, like I said, give myself a break and read paperbacks, hardbacks, you know, physical books. Unfortunately, that didn't help. You know, I took the weekend off and I went back to read it, and I chalked it up to, you know, maybe I was just like really tired. You know, I was just, and I was, you know, I have been very tired lately. My allergies have been so bad. They've made it really hard for me to get a decent night's sleep, unfortunately, and I'm pregnant, so finding the right type of allergy medicine that I can take that's doctor approved and safe, it's not really working. I'm just using nasal spray, and it works for a little bit, but it's not great. So I've been really tired, and I just chalked it up to that. I'm like, you know, I'll restart it. Let me restart it. You know, it's Monday, it's a fresh day. I'll restart the book, right? Restarted it when you know, middle of the day, so I'm pretty awake at this point. And I'm just like, what is happening? I was so confused with the storytelling. I can't even tell you what I read because it left me that confused. So the story's about, look at my notes, a quarantined city gripped by fear, and at the edge of a war that can free it. It's supposed to follow this character, Errol. First of all, Errol's not even in the prologue. It's some random person, and it ends with, this isn't my story to tell. I guess he's walking around, he heard a story, he's like, this isn't my story to tell. Flash to Errol, and he's in the city, and there are guilds, and I'm like, okay, what are the guilds, first of all? There's not a lot of establishment, world building early on. Or maybe there's just, there's a lot happening, rather. There is a lot happening here and there, and your mind's just going like, what? What? It left me utterly confused. And again, I tried to read this book twice. I gave it that second try. I tried really hard to follow it, to make notes of the characters, and I'm like, wait. First of all, who is the main character? Is it supposed to be this kid, Errol? What's happening? So I was just left really confused. I didn't really understand what was happening. So apparently Errol and his brother, they find a weapon, and it makes them a target of other guilds. Just from the synopsis of the book, that's it. Nothing cohesive that I read. because I was confused. And you know what? I was really upset that I was really confused because I saw the cover of this book. I read the synopsis. I thought, oh, I'm going to love this book. Which is why I gave it a second try. Because after the first time, again, I figured I was just tired. Maybe I was just tired the first time around I read it. And that's probably why it left me like really confused. But the second time, I wasn't tired. I was very aware and I was just sitting there reading and I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, I'm so confused. I would just look up into the air and mutter to myself like, I'm so confused. I have no idea what's going on right now. That was my reaction to this book. So I didn't finish it. Like after 27%, I was just like, I cannot do this anymore. I'm like, I'm so confused. I don't know who the main character is. I really don't have any sense of this world that I'm in. These character voices, they kind of blend together. There's lots of unique slang in the story. The author does make a point to make their own language for the story, which is, again, Tolkien did that. I was able to read that just fine in middle school. Here, there's no context. That's the problem. There's no context. Tolkien has context. But in this novel, there is absolutely no context to the language at all. And that's really annoying. And it's very frustrating. Because when you're trying really hard to understand what's going on, this shouldn't be a book where it's like, yeah, the first half is like really hard. But if you stick with it, no one should have to just stick with it. If the book is hard for them to understand, someone like me or other well-read individuals, if it's hard to understand, I'm sorry, that's not good writing. A book should be at least somewhat easy to understand, or there should be something engaging about it. You have to have a good foundation, good world building to keep a reader hooked, even if there's a lot going on. Again, George R.R. Martin, lots going on, but you have really interesting characters, and he's very concise and clear in his direction of the storytelling. I find, anyway. I'm able to follow it, and I'm able to keep track of the characters. You know, I was able to keep track of anything when I was reading this. Again, utterly confused, utterly, hopelessly confused. And I like high fantasy. You know, I've got a whole bookcase over here that's nothing but Dragonlance novels. Whole bookcase of Dragonlance novels. My new Dragonlance temporary tattoo. Trying it out. We're gonna see. I feel like I need to have it like wrapped around here, like around the whole way and not just there. So, but, you know, it's just, I read a lot of high fantasy. I like fantasy. I like extensive worlds. I like good characters. I like magic and dragons and plot twist. I like all that stuff. I just don't think it worked here. It was just a letdown. Because I read, you know, I went on Goodreads and I'm like, I can't be the only one who felt this way. Please no. Usually when I see I'm the only one who feels this way, I'm just like, okay, what did I miss? Right? If you go on the Goodreads page, all those reviews right on the front page are did not finish. And there's a comment there that says, I see this book doesn't have a lot of good reviews. Is it worth the read? And then the person who wrote the comment back was just like, oh, these are people who don't like a challenge. I thought that was really kind of stupid. It's like, no. And he's like, well, if you stick with it, that's what I'm saying. You shouldn't have to be forced to stick with it just because it might get better. That's what I'm trying to say. Here's what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to say to you guys. I did not like this book. Did not finish it. I give it 1 star. However, it was an arc, slightly unfinished, so maybe it wasn't the final product, but it is what I received from the publisher. So I'm going to recommend to you guys to at least check it out. Again, just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you will not. And again, a lot of those did not finish reviews on Goodreads. They're also arcs. So maybe it was just a problem with the arcs. Maybe if I go to the bookstore and pick up the book and see the finished product, maybe I'll be able to finish it. So I'm going to say this to you guys. Check it out. You know, if you're unsure of spending the money for this book, check it out from your local library. Considering the arc I received was digital, I would recommend checking out a physical copy of the book or try to get an audiobook from the library. If you can't finish it within 25%, if you are as confused as I felt or as all my fellow readers felt, just stop reading it. Life is too short to be spent reading books you don't like. That is a fact. Now, if you like the book, if you end up liking the book, leave a review for the reader, for author, for other readers out there. You know, again, maybe the reason all of us didn't like it was because we had unfinished arcs. They weren't fully polished. Maybe they weren't fully edited. On that case, maybe the editor and the publisher should wait a little bit longer to hand out audio, like arcs. Make sure that they're finished. Because I read a lot of these reviews. Apparently there was a map in someone's, I didn't get a map. There was no map in my copy of this book. No map. So maybe our issue was that it was just an unfinished product. So again, a lot of arcs are uncorrected proofs. They're supposed to be like the final proof before publication. But didn't feel like it. It was very jarring to read and very just, I wasn't a fan. I'm sorry. I just wasn't a fan. I wasn't. But I recommend to you guys, you know, that was my perspective. That was my experience reading the book. You might have a different experience. So I do recommend checking out a book. I will never say don't read this, because books are like art. They are open to interpretation. And everyone's going to react differently to these books, you know? So I definitely recommend checking it out. See what it's all about. If you like it, great. Spread love. If you don't, just say why. But don't harass the author. That's not cool. Never harass the author if you don't like a book. That's not cool. So on that note, thank you again for joining me here on Sin's Workshop. I hope you all will continue to support this channel by liking it, subscribing, and sharing it with all your book loving friends. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy reading.